All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Patrick Carey with Church of the Eternal Logos, and I am joined by my friend, Dr. Mo, and we will be joined by a bunch of people today. We are doing a bit of a 2-hour fun mixed bag open panel stream today in celebration of reaching 30,000 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. And today is my 35th birthday. So, we're just going to hang out. I know BLA should be joining us in a bit. FDA will be joining us, Father Deacon Dr. Ananias, in the second hour. I know Jay's going to be stopping by. Jimbob will be stopping by. I saw Baron Strawberries in the chat. So, Baron, I just sent you a link over on Instagram, feel free to hop on, brother. But anyway, Dr. Mo, what's going on, my man? How you been?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Trying to dress up good for mom today, right? Rocor, we celebrated the nativity.
Oh, that's true.
So
Yes.
this isn't for you, man. Don't feel special. It's for mom. But
yeah, you look like you're getting ready to go to surgery. That looks like a doctor's lab coat. You're wearing that white sports jacket.
yeah, I don't know what it like. I'm colorblind. Heather, is this Heather gray or is it white? I don't know, man. So I need to get me a woman so they can just. I still like. I'll wake up in the morning. I'm like, does this match? Does this go together? I'm like, God knows my intention if I show up with like purple, blue, and orange pants on or something like that. So yeah, man, good little Sunday service. I should have mentioned something to some of the crew here at St. Seraphim that are big fans. I was there at coffee hour with Father David and Chase. Now Nicholas. I don't know if you know he was baptized.
Oh, Chase he's now Nicholas.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
glory to God. That's amazing. So he's
our
already
church
been brought in. Whole family, I take it.
Yeah, we're exploding up here, man. We're smashing walls down. We glory to God have I'd say almost every week it seems like we have 2 or 3 new guys coming in. Definitely could use a little help on the female side.
I think most Orthodox parishes feel that way.
Yeah, but that's what us men are called to do. And so I've told, all right, hey, how did you get in Orthodox? Usually we ask them when they show up, hey, what brought you in? Oh yeah, online. A lot of it's online stuff, right? So a lot of them are familiar with your stuff. So here to congratulate you on the 30,000 followers, 35 trips around the sun. You must be doing something trips. Right.
I know. Well, there's a lot of, I don't do a birthday stream every year. 35. It felt like this is the 5th year that I started Church of the Eternal Logos.
Mm-hmm.
So people have heard me talk about, thanks, Wicked Wally says a good time. And then reminder, men don't get older. We just get more distinguished. Happy birthday, DPH. Thank you very much, Wicked Wally. Thank you to everybody in the chat wishing me happy birthday. I'll try to make reference and pull those up as we go through. And major thank you to Austin DeTulio, who sent in a generous $30 already over on the Dono chat. He says, happy birthday, David. Many years to you. God bless you and yours. Thank you very, very much, Austin DeTulio. Truly appreciate that, my brother. And then here on YouTube, Emmanuel, been a COTEL crew member for 19 months, going strong. He says, congrats. Well, thank you very much, Emmanuel, for all your support as well. I appreciate that. But what I was saying is, September of 2019 was when I decided to try to go full time and build this YouTube channel. And so, been quite a journey, 5-year journey. You're really the one person that kind of watched the whole thing occur from an outside perspective. And so this year, probably this week, we'll be signing papers for our civil marriage with Jenny. So I'll be getting married this week. Turn 35, celebrate the 5th anniversary of the YouTube channel.
And it was really right because I think we met up in July or August.
Right.
So, I don't remember if you, at that point, I think you had started doing this a little bit, right? Do you remember, was it spring?
Yeah. So it was in the spring, early 2019, I created quote unquote Church of the Eternal Logos, but I'd post a video, very rarely, once in a while, once in a blue moon. And, it was kind of on it's kind of like a Gnostic, I wasn't Orthodox, very much interested in some of that stuff. But then eventually after, I'll just say it because we've kind of talked about it before, but you and I went to an ayahuasca ceremony in July of 2019. That was the last time that I did psychedelics. And during that ceremony, if you want to call it that, I was the drug stopped working, and what was put on my heart was to kind of give that stuff up. And it was time for me to create a new chapter in my life. And that was about orthodoxy and Christ and building something and becoming the academic and person that I wanted to become. And so that's been a 5-year journey since that. And so now getting married and going to be finishing the PhD up and just kind of moving on to the next chapter. So I thought 5 years, turn of 34, 35, kind of an interesting interesting point in that whole timeline.
Yeah, and like you're saying, where are you at with your studies?
I can actually show a little bit. Now, this is not not going to be published yet. We're still working on it, but this is just sort of the rough draft version. So this is 2,000 words, chapter 2, going through again, looking at transhumanism and kind of making the argument for it being. Oh, Posh just joined us. Shout out to Posh. Oh,
Hey, Posh,
our favorite Serbian.
Hello, happy birthday, happy 30K.
Thank you, Posh.
Happy everything. I knew I had to jump on to have like a beer because it's a felicitous occasion.
Right. Are you
Hello,
drinking
Mike.
beer? You say you're having a beer?
Yep.
All right. Well, let me text Jenny to bring me one. We'll
you can
we'll
do
this
that now,
proper.
huh?
Huh? Yeah, exactly. I can do that now.
The only better thing is when you can shout it, you know. Just say, "Hey, woman," you know.
Right. So, anyways, Posh, thanks for joining us, brother. He was asking me about some of my PhD research. I was showing him some of my chapter 2. That probably going to add a little bit more. It's not totally done yet, but so that's going to be roughly just under 60 pages, and then I'm going to be adding to it. So I suspect it'll be around 65 or so, and then chapter 1 is right here. Let me pull that up.
And I'd be
so,
curious, 5 years ago till today, kind of reflecting what are maybe even through your research and even through your channel, like what were some of the, what would I say, surprises, or maybe some of the most eclectic ideas you've come into, like, obviously going from, oh yeah, in the beginning, oh, that's Logos, right? John, to now Church of the Eternal Logos, to now, like, what are some things that maybe,
thank you very much, sweetheart. So there we go. We're doing a little, looks like Yingling Lights, what we got in the fridge.
I'm getting a local one, so people couldn't even read it. But it's from the city where Emperor Constantine the Great was born.
There we go. Cheers, Posh.
Cheers.
I can go grab a Topo Chico.
Yeah, grab a Topo Chico. I actually had one of those. I always take.
What's that?
Topo Chico. It's a Mexican mineral water. It's like highly carbonated. It's I don't know. A lot of Americans love it, but it's one of the better exports coming out of Mexico. That and like avocados.
I love carbonated water, mineral water. By the way, I almost had a kidney problem due to having so much of it, and unfortunately, this one
mineral water can cause kidney problems.
No, so from both sides of my family, like maternal and paternal, I have people who had.
Thank you, Canuck Rider. Keep going, Posh.
So there's.
I changed my mind. I'm doing a vodka mule.
Vodka mule. There we go.
Cheers.
Nostrovia. What's the Serbian cheers?
Živeli. It means may we live. It
Amen.
also means may you live. Has to be plural though. So I was just talking about it earlier on my stream, comparing different ways of saying cheers. But it's usually something about living long, being healthy, or cheers, as in English. Very, very, very standard stuff. But as I said, my mineral water, I have to out myself. It's named Perun. And if you know your Slavic mythology, that's like the thunder god. Okay. So I hope I'm not communing with demons as I consume it.
They say the Topo Chico is the same thing. It's I forget if it's Quetzalcoatl, but they say like the granddaughter of Montezuma went to the spring and like da. So
yeah. Quetzalcoatl is one of those sacrificing children gods.
Right.
He's a demon. We were talking about Apocalypto today at coffee hour, just how base of a movie that is, right?
It is a great film. The director was great.
We're seeing what's going to
Talented
happen.
young man.
I was going to ask what's going to happen with Mel. Is he a SETI or what is his?
That's from my understanding. Mel is a SETI. That he is a set of a contest and has questioned the legitimacy of Mr. Pope Frank, and rightfully so. Oh, Bruce Roberts just became a COTEL crew member. Thank you so much, Bruce Roberts. God bless you, brother. Really appreciate the support. But I think I read that Passion of the Christ 2, the Resurrection, is starting to be filmed in 2025 or something like that.
I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
Do we have like a resurrection one like that? That would be interesting.
I would like to see the harrowing of Hades. I think that would would do really well in Hollywood.
Just play.
Well, Emmanuel says the vengeance.
I think Family Guy had a joke about it, and it's basically Jesus now has.
Oh, Jay, I sent it to your X account. Do you want me to send it? Do you want me to text it to you? Jay sent the. Oh, okay, he said okay. Cool.
You can fax it to him.
Yeah, or page him.
I'm gonna use that. Be careful where the pager's from.
No Taiwanese pagers, please. Since Jay and Sam Shamoon had that debate, and Sam mentioned Allah having loins, you have no idea how great jokes were for that. Is there an uncreated pager for Allah? Because they could rid him of the problem with that uterus that's biting him.
Oh, wow. Very generous super chat just came in from Bruce Roberts. Throws in $50. Thank you so much, Bruce. Really appreciate that generous support. Thank you so much. God bless you, Bruce.
Get a nice ribeye steak for that, huh?
I know. Well, now that's the other part. Yes, I can yell and Jenny can go get me a beer, but that means everything that I have is split in two, which doubles the cost. So if I'm getting a ribeye, that means I get 2 ribeyes now.
Yep. That's good. You got a girl that eats ribeyes, though, too. Glory to God.
Well, you know what? Is there anything worse than when you need a beer and can't be bothered to get one? It's like one of the worst feelings in the world, except for when it's cold and you're in bed and you really need to go to the bathroom. Like that's probably the only worst thing. So it's a small price to pay for being able to have beer delivered to you.
Tough life for sure. So
yeah, I feel so sorry for him right now.
Yeah, you're probably top of the world. I mean, we're always on this ladder.
I think BLA is getting ready to join us too.
It's going to be a party. But yeah, I want to go back to my question. 5 years, man. What's been some of your big surprises? Obviously being full blown Orthodox. Because right when we had met, right, you're kind of like, man, I don't know this Orthodox thing. It seems like it's legit, but coming out of the perennialist New Age stuff,
psychedelic, New Age, occult, yeah.
But at least you managed to turn it into a proper field of research. So, God doesn't let anything happen without reason. And,
amen.
And glory to him for all things, including the cringe things we do.
Exactly. Yeah. The cringe mistakes we've all made. I think, man, in regards to some of the biggest surprises, I'm not sure what the biggest surprise is.
I mean, did you think you were going to stay right after? Were you going to stay in California? I mean, that, COVID hadn't happened yet, right? So
that's true.
Right.
Thank you so much, Austin. Really appreciate it. God bless you, brother. Thanks for the kind words. I guess at the time that we first met, I thought I was going to live in California. Obviously, some family situations emerged. Decided I wanted to build this YouTube channel, which meant I was taking all the money I had saved up at that point and was going to live off that until I could get some type of fledgling income by way of YouTube videos. And then Jimbob, that's what I'm hoping Jimbob's going to be stopping by here in a bit. Jimbob was the first person I ever did a live stream with. And the first hour was me struggling to figure out the audio. He didn't do live streams yet either. Jay, I think he was the one that kind of told us, hey, you guys should do live streams. And so I remember Jay actually, he patiently waited in the chat. We could see him in the chat while we're messing with the audio. Can't hear
Saying unmute, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be rude, man.
People get a lot of flack for not unmuting, but as someone who has called into one of these, you listen to it and there's just a short pause from audio, and that's when you're being connected and you don't have enough time to think, oh, maybe I'm connected, and then you hear unmute. So you don't even know you're there. So in defense of all the people who don't unmute.
Thank you so much, Kristen. She said, congratulations on your success and may you enjoy many more years. Cheers. Thank you so much, Kristen. God bless you and the family as well, and appreciate everything that you guys do for the community. All you mods out there, we appreciate you guys for everything you do. Montana Moser throws in $10, says, congratulations. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, Montana Moser. Truly appreciate you and the support as well.
Moser sounds like a Canadian Jew.
I don't know. You have to ask him. I didn't pick up on that one. You Serbs can probably smell things out that we Americans are grown accustomed to.
It's German. No, that's one. I did not expect that twist.
Chill, Bosh.
You have no idea how chill I am on stream. Like an average Serbian conversation, I assume most of the Balkans, is like Fed posting. So I'm already way toned down. I'm not used to having to.
Yeah, and I like the comment. They said, Posh, you could get arrested for that in Canada. Be careful, man.
You actually probably could.
Good.
You probably could.
Definitely. But it was a pun on Moses and Hosea. As we are dragging out into a gulag where like a moose beats you to death. So we're just talking whatever. We're not
whatever, man. I was just
whatever, dude. Anything that comes up,
get some knowledge out of them, and
anything.
Yeah, you ain't been involved with Diddy at all, have you? We don't have to clear your name. Ain't no party like a Diddy party, bro. This ain't a Diddy party, though.
I don't know. I'm somewhat baby faced, so I'd probably be involved.
You're just
on,
as hype,
victim side. Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said you're just as type. Oh, here he is, Mr. Dyer. Hey, Jay, what's up, brother?
What's up, dude?
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man. Congratulations on 30,000. And is it recently your birthday or today's birthday?
Today is my 35th birthday.
birthday,
Yeah, I've
dude.
been meaning to do the 30,000. Thank you, stream. So, and I want to thank you because you have been monumental in growing the channel and supporting my work. Platforming me on your stuff. So thank you. That's partly what I wanted to do today, is just thank everybody that's really helped me grow this YouTube channel and create content and do stuff like that. So appreciate you. Appreciate your friendship.
Yeah, man. Now it's time to take you down.
There we go.
I'm currently hiring a bunch of bots to report all your videos. So I like to build you up and break you down.
Are you working with the Indians? I know that they've been working overtime online.
We will take this man down. We will take this down from here.
That was something, Patrick, we talked about. Jay, what was your first 30,000 followers like?
Man, the growth on YouTube has gotten so slow. I don't even remember. Like it was a long time ago. I don't think I probably did some kind of stream, probably did some kind of Nick Cage related thing. But I remember thinking, all right, it's a pretty good milestone. And then I think I waited until 50 and then I did another one at 50. But yeah, it's unfortunate how, the high quality long form content that we all do, it's unfortunate that it doesn't grow quicker. I feel like we should all be way more than we are. I feel like COTEL should already be. I mean, COTEL, you had that other channel, which was obviously different content.
Right.
And, I mean, you got to what, 70 really pretty quick on that, right?
Pretty quick. Yeah. And that was, I think when I stopped doing the psychedelic content, it was at like 96,000.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it was up there. And then now it's like, I want to kickstart. We're streaming over on that channel, but mostly it's just new age people telling me how ridiculous it is.
How you're wrong,
Christian. Yeah. So I just let them slowly unsubscribe.
Yeah,
so eventually I can turn that into something more productive.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know what the deal is over here, but I mean, I'm still, still enjoying it. I'm still happy to have YouTube and still very useful, but it'd be nice if we could grow quicker with long form.
Well, dude, your open debates seem like they have been killing it. I tuned in the other day and you had like 1,800 people.
Yeah, I hit 19 organically. That's without anybody dumping, and I think that was the first. So it's good to see the live stuff still growing and people enjoy that. But it's a double-edged sword. I mean, people, it seems like I don't mind it being an entertainment thing. I wish that debates weren't entertainment, but I guess I'll take what I can get. People enjoy that kind of, interaction and the heated, passionate stuff. But it's still, I don't know. It feels like ultimately this is kind of just a form of, I mean, you can only debate idiots for so long, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it gets old, but people love listening to it.
They do. Well, every once in a while there'll be a good one, but a lot of them is you're talking, I mean, just basic philosophy goes right over their head. They don't even know what you're talking about. But it makes
a model that works though, right? I mean, like Ben Shapiro debated purple haired freaks at college, made a career.
Apparently that's Charlie Kirk's thing now.
Stefan Molyneux made a career out of that.
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk can make a career. So there's use in that.
Charlie Kirk has gotten a bit more based. If I watched his thing with Tucker Carlson. So it's good that he's getting out of the classical liberal trap, because it just doesn't explain what's happening. It's just not enough.
How's Mr. Seven Coconuts doing? I've kind of quit following him since he got. I never really followed him, but you come across his stuff when he was on YouTube.
I think he's oddly enough focused on BitChute. So
that's kind of like the worst one out of
I don't know.
all the alternative platforms.
Maybe doing stuff on Rumble, and I don't really know.
Yeah, I haven't watched in years.
I haven't either. Mud, thank you so much, brother. He renewed his COTEL Crew membership for 18 months. As someone who has 87 gazillion million followers, I grew up as a young middle-class woman who was raised by a mom who had a daughter who grew up in a... Thank you, Mud. Very inspirational. May shed a tear. So appreciate that. So,
Jay, do you have an answer to... If Allah has uncreated loins, is there an uncreated pager that can be supplied to him?
Well, there would have to be uncreated spandex tights to wear over the loins. There would have to be uncreated pager. There would have to be uncreated. I mean, you have to have basically uncreated twerking. I mean, everything. Because if you don't have it, then it's less perfect.
The uncreated badonkadonk, and he has 3 cheeks. Because it's a multiplicity. It's
well, but if you think about it, like you start having to figure, that's where it gets into the realm of mystery, because 7 toes is better than 6 toes.
Yep.
So how many cheeks are better than 2 cheeks? 4, 5, 6. I mean, where do we stop?
We don't know. Allah knows best. Allahu alam.
That could be a good skit instead of like the old black and white TV show. Father knows best. It could be like Allah knows best. It's like really weird wisdom of Allah telling you through the Prophet Muhammad, like what the more perfect number of butt cheeks is, or what the more perfect number of toes is.
That would go over really well. I think there's a thriving audience for that.
It sounds like an adult swim skit. Was that John C. Reilly? Remember, like Stephen Brule, like
Dr. Stephen Brule,
yeah.
Well, aren't they getting Sam Hyde show back together?
Sam is producing the show himself.
Oh, he is. Okay,
yeah,
I just saw a tweet about it. It wasn't on Adult Swim, but no. I saw some tweet of that the show was coming back and they were bringing the cast back together.
Yeah, he's already done it. They've already finished. So
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't know when it's coming out, but I mean, they've already finished filming it. They'd already finished by the time I was up there, and I think he said he put like $1 million or $2 million into it. So,
oh, sheesh.
Yeah.
Major thank you to AC. Just sending a generous $49.99, $50. Many years, brother. Many years to you and the family. Thank you so much for your support. I know AC reached out to me about doing a stream with you, Jay, here in the near future. He didn't tell me the exact contents, but yeah, we'll have to schedule that. And also you mentioned about the
you and I were talking about the history of Muslim
intelligence.
Brotherhood and British Empire and Islam. Is a fascinating side of stuff that most people don't know.
Yeah, you did a 4th hour. When was it? It was almost like a month ago on that.
I did, topic. Yeah, but I
sent it to you. I watched that live, and I was like, dude, that was a fantastic 4th hour.
But I've also done some talks 7 or 8 years ago where I read several big geopolitical texts on that topic. So that's a whole rabbit hole. Not many people know about that, but it's an important piece, I think, of the Islamic story and why Islam is being pushed in the West.
Right. It's the perfect dialectical agent.
And if you've listened to enough from AP and David Wood, they make this point like that Allah knows best thing. And all the impulses, especially from like the Salafi types and like these very literalist groups, it's a very good way of making a population obedient without any question. Because you can believe in absurdities, you can believe in all types of contradictions, and you just respond with, well, Allah knows best. So it's a very... it's a violent religion, but it's also very easy to manipulate.
Right.
And due to the polygynous nature of it, it also means you have a population of dissatisfied young men, which can easily be weaponized with promises of booty. And that is one of the things that is allowed by the Quran, like your wife and the what your right hand possesses, which is women captured in war. So it's a very, very useful geopolitical tool.
Well, and did you see the graph on inbreeding? And but my only point is, that's another political weapon. Obviously, porn is a no-no, but we were covering an article. I forget I think it was 2 years ago about pornography and like pushing incest and like stepfather, stepsister, all this different stuff. And it's like, there's certain cultures where, it's not totally unfamiliar.
Yeah. It's like first cousin. So among other things, I keep saying it's an improv religion. Like whoever, Muhammad was just winging it. And I say whoever, because not that I have one of those opinions, Muhammad didn't even exist, but definitely it was tempered with, but they just call stuff abrogation. It's so, I think even a hadith on why they gather on Friday, it's because Jews gather on Saturday, Christians gather on Sunday, therefore we have to pick something different. Mm-hmm. And it's so improvised, and I mentioned because obviously with the dietary restrictions and with marital restrictions that would exist in the law of Moses, you see that there's a vague awareness of it, but obviously the details are completely missing, and when you try to reconcile it, you can't. But then they say, oh yeah, because you wouldn't be allowed to eat like camels and stuff, which they are if you are following the law of Moses. So again, reinforcing, we are doing this now. This is now the new thing, but it's good for it to be a new thing. It abrogates the former thing, and it results in, as you said, massive inbreeding, because this type of incestuous marriage, consanguineous, whatever, is good for keeping wealth within a segment of the family, which is why the royals keep getting inbred over and over. So like even on a scale that works, and it's god awful.
Yeah, it seems like people are really enjoying. I know, Jay, you're for the last few months, really getting into Islam and the debate you and Shamoon did. I mean, you guys pretty much destroyed the Muslims in that debate. What was that on modern? Was that Modern Day Debate?
No, that was Fresh and Fit.
Fresh and Fit. That was Fresh and Fit.
Yeah, that's had going towards 3 million views now. Total. Oof. Crazy. Yeah.
Damn. Well, they have so many Muslims that follow that channel.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's weird because the comments on YouTube, which is I think the largest, YouTube and Twitter both have about 900,000 views. Like the comments on YouTube are 98% like Christians dominated, which is not what I expected the comments to be, right, given, what you're saying here, that I assume they have a large, Muslim following, but also I think that,
well, I believe, isn't Fit Muslim?
No, Fresh.
What?
I forget who's who, but Myron's Muslim.
Myron. I thought he was, I don't know. I don't know
which one he is, but then the black dude is,
he's Christian. Yeah. He's like a Protestant, I think.
Some kind of evangelical, but
yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I forgot about him being evangelical. But yeah, I mean it I didn't really have to do much. I just kind of sit back and let Sam cook, because he's an encyclopedia with the Islamic hadiths and texts. So I just kind of let him run wild on those guys. And it was weird too, because it was supposed to be Jake, not Ijaz. Ijaz is pretty low tier, but Daniel, I think, really wanted Jake for his philosophy, metaphysics side of it. But Jake canceled at the last minute because the internet went out, supposedly. So.
Yeah. He has also canceled multiple debates with AP and stuff. But what's really important when you had that stream with AP on his channel, and he mentioned some very funny hadiths to you.
Exactly.
What's very important is the Muslim debaters, they will avoid like wildfire anything that can stop the idea, like, Islam is very simple, it's just monotheism.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it's very simple in that regard, and that's basically that's it. They won't go into details because the details are so ridiculous,
right?
And I talk about
well, you mentioned Posh, you're wanting to do a stream with like Dyer and Jimbob on the most ridiculous aspect. Can you give us one without giving away the whole stream?
Oh, I can give
us one juicy one that just people aren't aware of.
One that people aren't aware of. So, I don't know. Like, have you heard of Ya'juj and Ma'juj?
I haven't.
That's like Gog and Magog, but how Muslims see it. So there's a chapter of the Quran, I can't remember which one. It talks about a man called Dhul Qarnayn, which is man of two horns, which would be Alexander the Great. And he goes westward until he reaches a place where the sun sets in a muddy spring. So he reaches the end of the world. They will make all types of claims. Salafis, I don't know how they deal with that, because they're not even allowed to philosophize and metaphorize or whatever. But then he meets a people who complain about these Ya'juj and Ma'juj. And Alexander the Great, who we all know was a very hardcore monotheist, traps them behind a giant wall of molten metal. And every day they dig to get out of this. And they almost reach the end point and say, okay, we'll stop now, we'll come back tomorrow. Except that one day they will say, we'll come back and finish tomorrow, inshallah. So Allah won't rebuild the wall during the night, and they will break out. And why this is important is because they outnumber Muslims 999 to 1. So they're not few in numbers. And they're somewhere around the world right now behind a metal wall, just digging and digging. I don't know how they eat and drink and whatever. But when you read the hadiths, how they're described, they have like giant shield-shaped face with tiny eyes, and then some have ears so big that they can wrap themselves around in it. So we have these innumerable mutant creatures somewhere in the world right now, trapped behind a wall, and when they break out, that will be the start of Judgment Day. We will ignore all the hadiths that Muhammad said, it's basically right now, this child next to me won't grow old until it happens, saying, oh, they have broken through. But basically, it's a giant army that will go out and drink entire lakes and rivers and whatnot. And you have to, as a Muslim, defend this idea. So I'm not going juicy as in like,
right.
Like you're talking about women have sperm, and like whichever sperm comes first, that's who the child will look like.
Wait, hold on. You said they don't have sperm?
Well, they believe like
we have
the OG women, not the modern.
Can we get a fact check on that from Dr. Mullins?
Snopes needs to get in on this. But so that's my point. Islam preaches so many ridiculous things, which is why they will always only debate like Quran versus Bible, where they will peddle the idea that Quran is perfectly preserved, even though the Hadiths contradict that, or like Tawheed versus Trinity. So that's why it is philosophical enough that you can obfuscate and you can invent things and just appeal to nonsense. Like one is better than three. It's more logical. It's not. If we're talking about the transcendental, how can you say that it's more logical if it's transcendent? You're reading created logic into the transcendent. But they only stick to that, appealing to basic norms, or at least what we're used to thinking. And they will never defend the nonsense like a giant multi-billion army of mutants that are going to break out and kill us all until Allah stops them or whatever.
Do any Muslims just claim that they're like chimeras? Like they try to take a scientific modern take and say, well, what this is talking about is the fallen nature of the world leading to these amalgamations of humanoid creatures.
I haven't heard that. I have heard that because they're shield-faced with tiny eyes, they might be Chinese. And Yasser Qadi said that his friend thought this, that they might be zombies.
Okay.
That would explain why we can't find him.
We had a couple super chats come in. Oh, here's Jimbob. Jimbob, welcome, brother.
Hello, everyone. I just came on to stop the droning, Posh from just droning on. Figured I'd save everybody. Happy birthday, and congrats on your growth here.
Absolutely. And thank you. I already made this point. You were the very first live stream, and Jay was in the chat, and we were struggling for like an hour to get the audio to work.
Yeah.
And Jay was actually the first super chat this channel ever received. So appreciate that. So I just want to say thanks.
I sent it, or they sent it to me on your channel?
That's funny.
I wasn't joking. I didn't
know. No, you sent $20 to me and Jimbob, and
Gotcha,
that was the first super chat the channel ever received from a live stream. And it was you that told us we needed to do live streaming.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think Jimbob, he was doing Instagram lives at that point. He didn't even do YouTube.
That's right, yeah. I remember hopping on an Instagram live with Jimbob one time.
He was
we did some, we did a couple of, people miss that still. They're my own audience is trying to get me back into in a Prius with no extra stuff, no microphone.
You're on your lunch break?
I'm thinking about it.
Did your Instagram get woke shut down? What happened?
I was responsible for that. I had reached, I don't know, 115,000 or something. And then I got into an argument with a bunch of vegans. So I started targeting vegans. And one of them like posted my home address, and then it got nasty. And then I think from that exchange, I got shut down. And it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth debating vegans to lose that account, by the way. So they're nuts. So
wow, missing B vitamins. And
I feel like you had like 3 or 4 get banned right after that too.
Yeah, I'm pretty at this point. I'm not even really invested because I don't know if they have a toggle or something, or someone who's assigned to your account where they just put it on a setting called "Don't Grow" or something like that. I think they have that for YouTube. I mean, Jay, you've been at this for so long. The fact that you're at 140, what are you at now?
Well,
147, almost.
Yeah,
150.
like that's still so minimal for what it should be if you were any other channel, right? If you were some sort of atheist nerd, I mean,
and he's been demonetized for like 4 years.
Yeah,
how long have you been demonetized?
2018, and I've even taken the re-education course.
Oh,
to allow you to get to get reinstated.
Does that include a proctological exam?
Your channel is harmful to people. It hurts people's feelings. So.
Oh my god,
that's so funny.
Yeah.
Re-education camp.
Wow. We had a few super chats. Just want to run through these. Montana Moser says, "You can ignore this if you want. Is John 3:16 a very misunderstood verse? Whoever believes in him as in communion, not just believing these things. Thanks. Just wanted to support some more." Well, thank you very much, Montana. Jay's the in-house theology expert. I'll let him take that. What's your take on the question? Do you think it's misunderstood, or it only has to do with?
Well, I think it's usually just misused by evangelicals. It's kind of like this thing where all the Bible is summed up in this one verse, and I mean that could be true from a certain vantage point, but what does that mean? There's not one verse really that for us becomes the slogan or the catchphrase. Because they're all important, they're all necessary. So to take John 3:16 and say that, it just really is read into the Protestant presupposition are read into John 3:16. I think it's the key issue.
Just like how they reject James.
Right, it's an epistle of straw. But I wanted to mention about 3:16. I just typed it in for Koine Greek. It's a pistevon, so it's from the same word as pistis. Right. So belief, sometimes it's translated as faith or belief, to an extent they're interchangeable in English, but in the ancient world, like today, we would say for love, we wouldn't say you love someone. That just means you feel this emotion, or that faith, pistis, in and of itself is just, a mental assent to a proposition. So it is, in the ancient world, part of just believing, like a mental state. It's part to live a faithful life, which is why we have stories like the master leaving his servants with talents, right? They're supposed to double it. The one who doesn't heed is not called a good and faithful servant. So they read this with an understanding that belief is mental assent, that this pistevon is just mental assent, so they can say and be honest about it. I'm not saying they're lying. I'm saying they have these presuppositions built in, especially when we have in St. Paul saying works, faith and not works. What that means in context is you can't contrive of some method of behavior or ritual or something on your own to do it. Like with Abraham, he couldn't have offered up Isaac like on his own. He responded to a request. So that he's being faithful to God. He's not doing something to try and strike a deal, which is how pagans operate. You always try to sacrifice this so you get that, or at least to be left alone, because pagan gods aren't very nice. But that's the problem, that the modern conception of the word, not the verse itself.
Aaron throws in a very generous $50, says, "Happy birthday, DPH." Thank you very much, Aaron. He says, "I feel like I remember Jay talking about the geopolitical origins of Sufi Islam in passing when talking about its influence on Frank Herbert and the Dune novels. Is that right? And if so, have any of y'all covered it?"
Well, I covered it.
Well, there you go.
I mean, yeah, I did mention it because, actually, I thought about it when I didn't know that much about Dune many years ago when I did my first essay on Dune that I put, I think, in the first book or the second book, 2018 maybe. But then I subsequently got a lot deeper into the whole lore and the background of the influences on Frank Herbert. But there's a lot of influences. It's not just Sufi. There's also Zen philosophy. There's also perennialism. There's all kinds of stuff, that Catholicism. So there's a lot of different influences on Dune, but certainly Sufism is part of it.
And the next one came in from Neo Neon, and he throws in $10, says, "Happy birthday, DPH. Thank you very much." And he says, "If I may ask you gents on the panel, what is the Orthodox view on violence and self-defense? I know Christ calls us to love our enemies. Also, does Posh have a channel? Posh does have a channel. Just put in the Posh Redneck. And I mean,
there's only one person worse than me at marketing, and it's Posh.
I was expecting DPH to say, just type in "made by Jimbob."
yeah, totally.
But yeah, in regards to self-defense, we've covered a whole stream on martial arts from a Christian perspective, and Jay can correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, as laity, as married men, you have a duty to defend innocence. So that includes your wife and your children. We're not aggressive in regards to violence, but certainly take a defensive stance. And that may come with judgment, but that's also part of the duty of being a married man as opposed to a monastic or a bishop or higher clergy. So, Jay, if there's anything we want to correct or add to that, I think
I would just say, I think a lot of times people, I mean, the scriptures teach there is the right time and place for self-defense, but a lot of times people expect there to be a one-size-fits-all answer for this. And to be, I think more nuanced, sometimes there might be a situation where the virtuous, correct action is to, act with self-defense in that way. But other situations, where there's no clear path for you to actually, win or something like that, then you're in a situation where the right choice is to accept martyrdom. So it's really a case-by-case basis and making the decision on the basis of wisdom and not a one-size-fits-all answer. In Hebrews 11, it talks about the Maccabees, and they chose to accept martyrdom to achieve a better resurrection. But in other places in Hebrews 11, it says that the faithful, they're praised for defending their nation and fighting off the foreigners, which means that according to Hebrews 11, it is still honorary and praiseworthy and virtuous to engage in those kinds of actions.
I have a follow-up question about that. So when we use self-defense to defend our lives, our house, our children, and it ends in the death of someone else, it's fair to say from our Christian view that we were justified in our actions, but did we still do something immoral by ending the life? Like, can both of those things exist at the same time?
There's some debate about this. Personally, I don't think so, because there's a letter where Athanasius talks about this. And I cited it in an article I wrote some years back called The Patriarchal Death Penalty. And I argued that it's still a valid principle, that it can even be virtuous to do these things in warfare. Athanasius says that he makes an argument in one of his letters about that. Some other people will cite other church fathers about the canons, and that if you kill somebody, there's some sort of penalty about not communing for a time period. So there might be some room for nuance and, debate there, but.
I actually had a follow-up random question for any of you guys. And in Maccabees, if I remember right, Judas has a dream. And I think it's Jeremiah, right? And when we talk about like intercession of the saints, and I don't know enough like how the words translate, because I think about that example, and then I think about is it Habakkuk that God sends to Daniel when he's in the lion's den? So I've just seen that, and then the other verse I think about that I haven't seen this really, I don't know, explored, or if I haven't heard it, when Christ is on the cross and he says, my God, and the Jews say, oh, look, he's crying out to Elijah. And so I guess my question would be, is there any evidence that like Second Temple Judaism had some form of believing in intercession of the saints?
No, I think it's well known. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's ancient Jewish prayer books, and the ancient Jewish liturgy, even post Christ, like 1st, 2nd century Jewish tradition, has the idea of the righteous interceding.
Yeah, I just see that brought up and not talked a lot, like in some of the debates of being like, well, this is just a continuation, like from the Old Testament.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But even outside of the canonical Old Testament text, I think even the Jews of 1st, 2nd century had liturgical references like that.
So a couple of things. When we talk about saints, for example, the OG saints would be the angels. So, and we have mentions of Saint Michael as the patron saint of Israel, I believe it was in Job, where you say, to which of the holy ones will you bring up your prayers? That's asking for angelic intercessions. But we shouldn't expect basically the same thing in the New Testament and the Old, because of Christ's incarnation and resurrection. When you compare the vision of heaven in the Old Testament, it talks about the cherubim and the rest of the angels being there. But when we read Revelation and we read John, he sees humans there, because things have shifted now. The harrowing of Hades has happened. Yeah. So things are different in that sense. But we have the approach to the angelic saints as opposed to these human saints which are now there. Also in the Old Testament, it would depend, right? Not just whether the harrowing of Hades has happened, but when we talk about Elijah, who is taken up as opposed to just dying, that is treated differently than someone who has died, even being a holy prophet. But and just a short thing about the previous question about self-defense, we have in the Old Testament and in church history, soldiers who come from war tend to have a period of not communing. In the Old Testament, they have basically like a settlement. They get put in before being reintegrated. And even if it's a just war, the idea isn't you've broken these many rules, which I think would apply to self-defense. It's not just that. It's that you've done something that harms your soul. You need to be cleansed of that. In war, you would be hacking and smashing and just slaughtering people who you don't know. They could have been a good person forced into a war by their demon kings and whatnot. But you've still done something that is very troubling, that should not happen in the world and will not happen in the eschaton. So that is why there is that period. And I can only assume that if you kill someone in self-defense, that it could be so troubling, things aren't like in films, just blah, blah, and the person is gone, they can be wailing and just struggling to breathe. And these things bear heavily on us and on our souls. So you might have a period of
so it's not detention. It's not sacramental
right. It's
detention.
Not punitive.
Right.
Right. You're not being excommunicated. In short, you're being put through like a cleansing period, and it's going to be up to the spiritual authorities what that should constitute, how long it should be applied, etc. So that's one thing to keep in mind. We can't have this Protestant, or to a large extent also Catholic, idea of just breaking rules. God said no to this on paper, and if it can technically be seen like this or that, and start lawyering up, that God doesn't need a lawyer.
Who's this guy?
Oh, Jay just shared a link. I'll put
that. The Athanasius quote, which I think is helpful here, it's letter 48. He says, "The lawful use which God permitted when he said, 'Increase and multiply' on earth in Genesis 1:28 is approved by the apostle in the words, 'Marriage is honorable and the marriage bed undefiled' in Hebrews 13:4, or that which is public yet carried on stealthily in an or that use which is public yet carried on stealthily in an adulterous affair. For in no other matters also which make up life shall we find difference according to circumstance.'" For example, he's saying that certain actions like sexuality is not inherently evil, but it's evil when it's misused. So he's saying, for example, it is not right to kill, yet in warfare it is lawful and praiseworthy to destroy the enemy. Accordingly, not only are they who have distinguished themselves in the field of battle held worthy of great honors, but monuments are put up to their achievements, so that the same action at one time and under one circumstance is unlawful, while in other circumstances is right and lawful and permissible. And then
what if they're women? What if your opposition is all women?
Modern day feminism.
Yeah, like if you come up over the hill and you see a bunch of chicks dancing, you're like, wait a second, should I do this?
You pick one and keep complimenting her, and then they start infighting, and there you go.
Yeah.
Well, the question is it a festival? Is it a bunch of
Lollapalooza? Coming over the hill of Lollapalooza, yeah.
Yeah, should
justify
in that case they should be taken captive and shorn.
Burning Man.
Yeah.
It's Burning Man.
Welcome FDA, welcome BLA.
Yo, happy birthday, buddy.
Happy
birthday.
They sung the happy birthday song to you. Happy birthday to you. You guys were talking about Lollapalooza.
We don't sing that here, sir. We don't sing that. God grant you many years, bro. Came to the wrong neighborhood.
What, you don't sing happy birthday? You don't sing the happy birthday song?
I got two versions.
That sounds like paganism to me.
I like how the typical white, the happy birthday song is like the white, like morgue. It's like happy birthday, so slow and so slow.
Yeah.
You having a good one, buddy?
I am. Yeah, just had church. We'll be going to see some friends. I have a buddy who plays country music, so
Nice.
he got a steel guitar and everything, a fiddle lined up. So we're gonna go see him tonight, and Jenny and I. So that's about it. Church, went to a friend's first birthday for their son, and that's about it.
Wow. 35 years old. Happy birthday.
35 years old. But again, I already did it for Jimbob, Jay, and Mo. But FDA, BLA, just want to thank you guys for all the streams that we've done together, for helping grow the channel, for you guys' friendships. Really appreciate both of you guys.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. We've had some good ones. We've done many film analyses.
I thought you said you were 48.
I'm not your age.
That's close to boomer. That's close to boomer age, man. That's danger zone.
Right?
Yeah. That's amazing, man. 35. We had, I don't know what's going on today, but we had like 6-7 birthdays today that we sang in church. And then we have yours. So it's a good day.
It is a good day.
Good day to be born.
I love the fall weather, so it's like cooling down. Fall's like my favorite season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I forget. Yeah, I think statistically, isn't it late August, September, October that there's a boom?
Yeah, that's me.
Everybody having sex during the wintertime?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, seriously, statistically.
Probably a very fun time of year.
Posh,
If you're
do you
not
guys
on and then 7th of January is your Christmas, so Lent is still on. So.
Posh, do you have seasons in Serbia?
Unfortunately, yes. Like 3 weeks ago, I could barely sit here.
Weather in Serbia?
Other than nuclear heat.
Yeah, you don't like the heat, Posh, right? You're just like,
oh yeah, I'm overjoyed right now.
Yeah.
I was literally like 3-4 weeks ago, I could barely sit here in my trademark wife beater, and now I'm fully geared up. So I'm very happy with the
right on, man. You and me are the same. I hate the heat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, you're Norwegian. I'm Slavic. We're used to the cold weather.
I was genetically predestined to hate heat.
I'm kind of with Jay. I'm not a huge fan of the winter. I know Jay's got a little summer retreat or winter retreat in Florida. And FDA's been trying to talk me into Montana. I don't know if I could do 6 months of winter.
Happy medium right here.
So
what,
FDA,
Idaho, you're not.
Let's go over to Idaho.
Dude,
I got a question for FDA. Like,
we're like 20 degrees hotter.
With the skiing, was that a huge factor, like snow skiing, or was it mainly because of the church and the cabin and all that kind of like?
For me,
how important was skiing in your decision to go there?
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, my grandfather took me to Montana, like fly fishing when I was a kid. And I say, once you let Montana into your heart and make it your personal savior, you walk
down the aisle.
In the beginning, there was Montana. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been trying to. You can ask my wife. We're going to be 17 years in December, married, and I've been trying to get her to come to Montana, and she's like, I'm not going there. It's freezing, stuff like that. So it was a combination of things. It was a combination of California going crazy. I mean, I really thought 2020, forgive me, in California, I thought that was going to be that way forever. I mean, they were arresting people. They were rioting.
Is it not?
What's that? Yeah.
Isn't it worse? Is it worse?
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Well, Colorado's got the best weather, but I mean, everyone's getting a lisp here very quickly as well. So
it's in the water.
But skiing's a big part. Yeah. Like just the outdoors, and I like dry cold. I definitely don't like the humid, kind of Chicago, Minneapolis, Like that's a bit difficult.
That's what I have to deal with, but I still prefer winter. Like summers here are well over 100 degrees. People think Eastern Europe, they think of Russia, and it's so cold, we eat beet soup, right? But yeah, I mean the Balkans, it's a completely different story. So we have, as I said to David before we started the stream on Thursday, it's maximal temperature 110 or so, and then minimal is 70. So now our maximum is 70. But you don't even get it, even in the desert.
I hope that's Fahrenheit, not Celsius.
Well, some days I wish it were when I'm feeling down. But, it's legitimately you can't cool down, ever.
Well, I know.
Yeah, I mean, you can... Sorry, Jay. You can always layer and put more clothes on, but you can't... Once you're naked and you don't have any more... You got your wife.
You can take a shower and feel better for some
5 minutes,
outstanding 10 minutes.
Posh, the beers do nothing either because you guys don't have refrigerators or freezers.
Yeah, we drink. I know there's a type of beer that's better warm, and that sounds like heresy to me.
I heard you guys that you have to go down to the saloon and get a giant brick of ice to last. Is that right?
Yeah, we import ice, and like
there's no beer that's better warm. It's a lie. Like that's disgusting.
Yeah, what beer is this? This is fascinating to me. Which sounds like
I have this friend who used to work in construction.
It's his urine after he's drank too much the night before.
Well, after a sufficient number of
better
beers,
warm.
No, but he said they got beer on the construction site. I mean, it wasn't a massive construction site. They were like remodeling a house. And in Serbia, basically everyone is drunk all the time. We're like Ireland, but without that many redheads. And our accent isn't funny. It's like one of those you can use as a villain in Hollywood. But he said the owner of the house brings out this beer and it's cold. And they start drinking and think, well, this isn't that good. But as it started warming up as they were working and they come back to it, he said, it tastes better. Now, I'm sure there's a type of beer that's brewed or ale or lager, whatever the term would be. I just think it should be yellow and with fizzy and alcoholic. That's what I like about beer. But the moment people started getting fancy about it, or you need to drink it under a tree, and it mustn't be an evergreen tree, all of a sudden I lose interest.
Or when there's actually brands of beer, like you don't have that in Serbia either, do you? It's just beer from there or over there.
You remind me like in communist days, not in Yugoslavia, but in like Bulgaria and Romania, like you would have soap. And it would just be soap.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's my image of Serbia. That's why I can't visit. It'll ruin my fantasy of how, like, I don't know, war torn and empty. And, just desolate. Like
that's the way beer is in Northern Ireland. They have beer made after terrorists and military.
All right.
Protestant
beer. Car bomb.
Yeah. In the black and tans, right?
That's right. Black and tans.
Warfare and
you can't say.
Were you with me that time when we were in Butte? And I ordered an Irish car bomb, and the guy got like super offended.
Yeah,
was that you?
That was, and we did Irish car bomb together. That was a wild
Bailey's. That's Bailey's in a Guinness, and then
you drop a depth charge.
Irish, and I find that a
terrible idea.
You drop a Bushmills in a Guinness, yeah.
Ooh. Oh, it's a.
And I remember I was like, "Well, Mike, I lived in Ireland for 7
years." It's
a
a Bushmills if you're Protestant. If you're Catholic, you're drinking some Catholic whiskey.
Have you heard the joke that the IRA's in the alleyway up in Northern Ireland, and he runs into somebody and he sticks a gun right in his back, and he says, "Catholic or Protestant?"
Mm-hmm.
Guy says, "Atheist." Catholic atheist or Protestant atheist?
That happened. That happened after the Big 9 when they had all the Muslim stuff going on. You Catholic Muslim?
If I was in a pub or something and I didn't know Father Deacon, and he was next to me and ordered an Irish bomb. I dropped my accent immediately. Like, hello, how are you? I would like to have a drink.
Guy ended up giving us
I'm not
drinks for
risking
free because, do you remember that? He felt bad for giving me a hard time because of it, and then he was like, "Hey, it's on me."
So
Yeah,
he
you
wasn't
can't
a
drink
bartender, right? He was just
You
some
can't
guy
order a
standing there.
black and
Yeah.
It's just some
you
guy.
can't
on the
order
street.
you can't order a black and tan in the Republic. You have to order a black and white. Black and tan is a bad connotation.
Or you can sing it.
Mhm.
Come out, share black and tans. Come out and
Hands,
fight
come out
me
and
like-
fight me like a man. Yeah, I remember that song.
I got a question for Dr. Mo, or maybe even DPH. I mean, it's not something that concerns me because I don't drink anymore, but I'm curious about, for a long time they were saying that hops and beers and IPAs and all this stuff, like there's a lot of estrogens, or there's something going on that's like giving people man boobs. Are there certain beers that you can get that avoid that, or is it only beer and not like liquor? Or I'm being serious. Like, are there alternatives nowadays? Or
I mean, you got a couple different things with alcohol. First, it does seem to increase aromatization. So think flour, testosterone turns into estrogen, right? My opinion, estrogen is actually a good thing when it's where it's supposed to be. So in my opinion, estrogen gets very much demonized because we have a lot of xenoestrogens or phytoestrogens. Okay. So if I measure your blood right now, I can see your estrogen levels. I can't see if you ate a bunch of soy, right? And if soy is a phytoestrogen, it goes in your body and it acts on the estrogen receptors and has estrogenic effects. So like with women, one of the major issues they talk about is estrogen dominance. And it's really not it's the proportion, right? And when I talk about testosterone and estrogen with guys, it's like THC and CBD. Not that I like marijuana, but they antagonize each other. Like if your estrogen is too high as a guy, I'll say like, all right, nipple sensitivity. Do you see a dead bunny on the side of the road and you start crying? Like, dude, your estrogen's too high.
Man.
Yeah. Sorry.
I must have negative estrogen.
Yeah. What's bitch tits Bob, right? From
Fight Club.
Yeah. So estrogen gets demonized, in my opinion. You do need it. It's good for your bones. It's good for your cardiovascular and your brain. So first off, alcohol is going to do that. And then because your body has to detoxify it, one of the big issues with people nowadays is their detox pathways are clumped up, right? And so you have estrogen gets detoxified and it's you're having more of it. And then your body's trying to also get rid of the alcohol at the same time. So it builds up, especially if you're doing it more often. Then,
but in regards to beers, Dr. Mo, is it not true? I kind of like IPAs, but because how much hoppier they are, to Jay's point, they actually do have more estrogen in it. So the stereotype of like the IPA guys that are obsessed with beer in their garage, like they really are growing bitch tits.
Yeah.
Because they drink so much IPA beer.
Yeah. And then you have to get into, the actual like constituents, like, right. In turmeric, you have curcumin that gives you the antioxidant properties. And then you have to go into individual beers and the type, like IPAs, they seem like they have probably more phytoestrogens than like, vodka is not going to have any phytoestrogens.
Okay.
So it's a nuanced question. And with most of my patients, I'm like, look, man, you have a couple beers a week because it, brings joy to your life. That's cool. But ultimately too, then it's like, you can get your blood work measured for testosterone and estrogen, but that's the big thing. When people are like, oh, I measured my estrogen, it's fine. It's like, yeah, but you BPA, right, is in plastic bottles. That's a phytoestrogen.
Right.
So it can be problematic, but I'd just say then it's kind of like the balance of your own life. You want to have a beer or two on the stream and feel good, birthday, cool, man. Just
to that point, Jenny was telling me that these aluminum cans that we have in the US, they're actually banned in Germany. So they do everything in glass bottles and then certain types of plastics. Because she came here and, of course, like everything's in aluminum cans. She's like, oh, you guys still do that? Everything's banned in Germany. We don't have those. And it's like, welcome to America.
They also have plastic on the inside because the aluminum, I'm saying it like an American, the aluminium. You're ruining
How
me.
dare you, Paul?
Hey, Pop, could you give me some paracetamol while you're at it too?
We do have that in Serbia, and my
I know you
family
do.
is medicine, so I can hook you up. But I think there's still plastic on the inside of those because the aluminium is there to basically protect it from the sun, basically, not there to be the container itself. But yeah, in Europe we do a lot of glass bottles.
Stuff just tastes better in glass too. Have you noticed that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
absolutely. Which is why the plastic ones are always cheaper. But you choose your poison, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. The stuff's everywhere, and obviously that's what I spend most of my time talking about. It's like guys like, hey, how do I optimize my hormones? I'm like, move to the country, throw out your cell phone, like don't use a car, because it's just little things people don't think about. Like you sit in traffic and the brake pads, like where's all the particles of that going? You're probably breathing that in. Yeah, your cans, you've probably seen it now, receipts from stores. There's like stuff in that. So
hey, Michael, I have a question for you now that I know that you're a source of knowledge in this regard. The question is, someone stated that that what we call jet lag is not actually some sort of like time differential problem with our body, but rather the intake of benzene. And that's what they said, that when you're flying, normally a flight 2 to 5 hours, which is the average, there's not enough intake of micro benzene essentially in the cabin that kind of circulates. But if you hit like 11 hours or something, they're saying, well, it's interesting that you could never remove the time element from a long flight to say it's the cause of jet lag, but you could actually potentially remove benzene and see if you still had jet lag. So it would be pretty easy to find out. I don't know if it was just some stupid truther clip or something in the end.
yeah, I think, did my microphone go out? You can still hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Man, this is where you get into like the really fringe stuff. Like, and look, I'm a naturopathic doctor and there's tons of snake oils out there. And ultimately, when you get into really minute details like that, and there's another guy, he's big into Bitcoin. I think Jay, you'll know him. He's all about light. And he's kind of the same thing about the different forms of, because the benzenes, I forget, that's something with the carbons is it in the actual like in the air?
Yeah, like there's parts per million that has to recirculate through the cabin, but they would say it's so microscopic that it's negligible. But this guy has picked up, one of these groups of people. Anyway, they're mostly like truther types of. That's why I brought it up, because I looked at it and I was like, yeah, that's kind of interesting. My tinfoil hat squeezed a little bit when I read it, and I was like, ooh. But then I was like,
you slide it in a folder.
Probably not. Yeah, put that in the folder. Yeah.
I've heard that. I've not. There are certain rabbit holes that I'll look at, and I'm like, how much time and effort do I have to go? Like there's people, they sun their buttholes and they ice their balls for their testosterone and stuff.
You don't?
Like, yeah, I did it for a little bit.
What do you mean, people?
Yeah, my neighbors didn't like it, man. I got in trouble. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
But it's tough, man. Like in today's modern world, that, like I said, the other really big one is I forget the name of it. That's in the light, and then it's also in water. It's not benzene. There's another like. But again, you get into the 5G like how much is that affecting us? Is that, radiation is one of the other big things. Like they think about when you're in a plane, like when the Fukushima stuff was going on, they're like, hey, it's not jet lag. It's that you're up here and you're basically getting radiated. And I think too, that there's a decent amount of evidence that it's like worse than getting multiple x-rays. So,
someone used the jet lag swapperoo already. Now I know it's nonsense.
Bro, yeah.
Mo, what's your thoughts on like blue light glasses? Are these really efficacious? My fiance got these for my birthday, and as I work on the computer at night, she thinks it affects my sleep because of the blue light. And I was like, all right, I'll try it. But
yeah, I mean, like I said, all these different things are all like straws on the camel's back. And the theory is like when the sun is at midday, right, it emits a certain light frequency that is similar to your computer, closer to the orange or yellow, like when you're waking up in the morning and evening. You remember like sun staring, right? In the new age is a big thing. Like, and again, I think that there's probably a correlation, because like even my mom, she texted me the other day and she's like holding my nephew and she was asking me about the EMF blockers. Hey, can I put this EMF blocker on my phone? And I'm like, if you don't put it in a Faraday cage, I'm not like convinced that it's doing a whole lot. But I believe in placebo. I believe in God. I mean, like, if her intention is like, hey, I'm holding my nephew, I have this EMF blocker on my phone and it's blocking, then cool. Like, it's $5. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't, but I'm a results guy. Like, I really like looking at objective data when I can, but ultimately I think medicine is just getting people to feel better most of the time.
Well, that's the least of your worries. They're going to start blowing these things up. You need to get rid of it.
I agree. You need, that's the next trick. You could get like a blocker. Can I get like a blocker on here that can't heat my phone up? You know, that's $1 million idea.
Well, so, you maybe
if you want to wear the blue light,
it has like a capsule of pig blood in it.
Yeah, what's the lethality of pagers?
I haven't gone down that mechanism. Actually, did they just?
Who's running around with pagers? That was the. I don't know why anybody.
They deserve.
Yeah,
they totally deserve it. You know.
Yeah, nobody was asking.
Lebanon is like Serbia. Like they're a few decades behind, right?
We still have hope.
They should do that with. They should do that with fanny packs too, right?
In Lebanon, you carry your pager and your new ice chunk that you got in your fanny pack.
They still got the the car phones. Remember the big?
Oh yeah,
in the 80s.
The Zach Morris cell phone.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to Mela. She just gifted a membership and received her own gifted membership.
Whoa, that's wild. That never happens.
That's like when corporations give to charity.
Yeah, she gifted one membership and she got 25.
We were talking about estrogen, and I always remember there was this cartoon like 10 years or so ago, trying to say, when, even the West wasn't all that pro LGBT rainbow stuff. And it was explaining how people become gay. And the idea
you say that, it's just so funny. You're explaining how people become gay.
How they become homogenous. Right. So the idea was, it's like a cartoon, and it's like this, like Leza, biker chick, talking to like a guy who's in like dressed like a Mormon, basically, like a tie and shirt. And what's your name? Christian. Very subtle there. But he's like, well, it's unnatural to be gay. And then she gives him this explanation. This was on YouTube. That it's because a woman's body recognizes the testosterone in a male baby as a pathogen and starts developing antibodies and starts attacking the testosterone, which increases the chance of a child being gay. And that is why if you've got like multiple children, multiple sons, the younger they are, the greater the chance, because the mother's body is becoming more and more apt at destroying testosterone, which is outstanding to me, because Dr. Moe said, right, estrogen is good when it's where it should be. Like, it's not that women don't have testosterone; they just don't have it in large amounts.
Well,
same with estrogen in men.
What's funny is my mic working now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's funny is, men, we have 100 times as much testosterone as estrogen. Women have 10. And so that means we have 10 times as much testosterone as a woman. And actually, one of the leading indicators of how much testosterone a man will have when he gets older is how much testosterone he's exposed to while in his mother's womb. So, there's actually something to be said. The mechanism of action is probably not 100% correct. But I have seen there was a study or two that they did on that where testosterone, how much testosterone the mom had, basically would basically, and then that goes down the whole rabbit hole of girls now are on birth control, and that messes up their whole feedback loop. Women now actually too they actually have lower testosterone. I know it's weird because we think the opposite, but most actually have suboptimal testosterone, just like guys, and that's I fully believe that that's contributing to what we see in the gender mishmash stuff. It's all the hormones are just goofed galore and on both sides of the aisle.
Posh, that really scared me because I have 3 older brothers. So I'm like, is he
explains
calling me
things,
gay?
Jim.
Now, there was another brother after me, but he died soon after childbirth. Maybe my parents knew.
Okay, I shan't comment.
Yeah, who's following up? Who's following up?
But when you mentioned the birth control pills, like that, those also get back into through the sewage system. They get back into the soil. Like they don't just get absorbed and like evaporate or something. So even though the vast majority of women aren't on birth control, even though we would think, if you watch, I don't know, Sex and the City or whatever, you think every woman's like popping them like the crisps. But it is still very.
How often do you watch Sex in the City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do it to understand counterculture.
Oh, it's
research.
research. I see.
Right, know thy
That
enemy.
explains the Sarah Jessica Parker poster.
Yeah. This is a green screen trying to hide it.
Oh, yeah, of your
The
grandmother's
doily
curtain.
Yeah, because how wholesome. We can be sure that at least there isn't a Sarah Jessica Parker poster behind it. So that, and I have to say this. I say this quite often. As someone who is 6'1" and daily see women taller than me in Serbia, I think our women are good on the testosterone. So if we can tone it down a bit without all these.
There's actually,
3,
I think
4
it's like,
women.
I forget, you can just Google, it's like testosterone levels by country, and Eastern Europe, Russia, I think America's in the 400s, Israel's like 350, and most of the other Eastern blocks are 450, 500. So
quiz. What country has the tallest women? I know the answer, but I'm just curious what.
I would guess the
Latvia?
Netherlands. Aren't the Dutch?
Namibia.
Latvia.
I think it's the Netherlands because Dutch men are basically women.
Hey, you got it. It's the Netherlands. I went through the airport in Amsterdam, and all the women are like 7 to 8 feet tall.
Yep,
and I'm like,
that's my experience here
smoking
as
a
well.
pancake?
So.
Smoking a pancake. Bong
that
that
was Germany's genetic experiments.
Well, the German experiment on making the women wider, because everything I hear from people in Germany, like German women are so rotund. Defy, like
Wait till they come to a Walmart in the South or the Midwest.
That's the sweet tea doing business.
No, that's a universal concept. I haven't figured this out. No matter where you are, or what state, it's the exact same people in Walmart. Even here in Helena, I was like, where I've never
Truth
even
or
seen
music.
these people. Do they like
Develop
ship
as
them?
well
They have like
lazy
an
and-
underground tram that just ships like big fat people.
We
on
need that TikTok. Yeah, that song from Jimbob.
Yeah, that song, right? Yeah.
well, it's funny. My college town in Carbondale, Illinois, like we had a super center Walmart, and so it was actually kind of halfway legit. And so I moved out to Southern California. I moved into this house with a bunch of people. I was like, all right, I'm moved in. I'm gonna go to Walmart to get groceries. And they all like looked at me like really, really weird. I'm like, oh, you go to Walmart to get your groceries? I'm like, yeah, where do you guys go around here? Because we don't have Whole Foods or Trader Joe's.
Publix.
And holy cow, dude, I went into that Walmart. There's just like eggs on the ground and like milk cartons all over the place. I was like, oh
yeah.
I probably look like an idiot to those
fighting
people.
in
Walmart,
aisles, yeah.
Walmart Supercenter here is where you go to fight a woman for your Oxycontin prescription and your Cookie Monster pajamas.
Fight a woman.
That's why the eggs are all on the ground.
That's where the women 2.0 go to train.
Women 2.0.
Yeah, before they get their hair long enough, and enough estrogen to be able to apply for the fights, they go to Walmart and fight the rednecks. So, and redneck women, they're tough enough. We have them here. So, those are not ones you want to mess with. They've been like slaughtering pigs since they were 12 or something.
Posh,
did
did
you guys
see-
have?
Go ahead.
Do you have Kmart's? in your?
No.
Our
That's
Kmart
where-
went out of
that's
business.
where you
That's why
go.
I went to
I mean-
Kmart.
I think we've got like 2 or 3 KFCs in entire Serbia, and like about 10 McDonald's, maybe.
No, Kmart.
I saw a
It was
woman
the
in a
be- it was the
weave
beta test.
throw a mop
Kmart was the
bucket
beta
on a
test for
woman.
Walmart.
Yeah.
Is it chicken? Is it chicken though?
No, it's
There.
not chicken.
I don't think it's chicken anywhere.
Kentucky Fried Weasel. Yeah, KFW.
Salted weasel.
Uh,
What was your PTSD experience, BLA?
I saw a woman in a weave throw a mop bucket on a child in a Bojangles parking lot.
Bojangles.
Bojangles is famous though. That
Yeah,
South.
Was that a discipline? That was like
Yeah, no, that's the-
discipline.
that was job training. That's the first question they ask you when you apply for fast food. Can you fight? You throw hands?
Can you fight? Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got like a mop bucket, range, and
I want my
you have
prize
to get over a
fresh,
certain
bitch.
score. If you have to hit children, they're still small, so you have to have it pinned down.
No, there was in the McDonald's parking lot, there was a guy with no clothes on crawling under the cars in the drive-thru looking for meth.
Sounds about
Powerful, yeah.
That's where I would look for it.
It's that
Yeah.
it's that good.
Wicked
Yeah.
Wally wants to make a statement. He said, this all reminds me of the time I was wrestling bears professionally in Serbia. And Posh goes, that was no bear. That's my cousin. And then it got awkward.
It says, she's my cousin. That's important.
Nice.
I love the
Wally's getting better
Serbian
at
law.
jokes.
I love the Serbian law that's been developing around me over here.
So much. That's why no one's visiting. I'm telling you, Posh.
Well,
No
the
one's
lore
visiting.
dude, Posh, did you see the hater? We recently did a stream covering like Serbian Orthodoxy.
Mhm.
And there was a guy who is convinced and says that he knows Posh. Posh is actually from England and he's married. And he's lying. I mean, he was all over my chat. Did you see this, dude?
I heard Indiana actually, not England.
No. Someone mentioned this in my stream. I thought it was like a Kentucky, like I'm from Kentucky type of, like I'm from Notting Hill and married to a German.
I'd roll
First of
with
all-
it, man. I'd roll.
Yeah, just
Go.
lean into that. Yeah.
Start
another
if
channel.
She's Bavarian, like at least go for the Catholic part of Germany. You go to like Lutheran Europe, everyone's like, hello.
Yeah.
So like the Nordic people, like Northern Germany, like they've smiled like 3 times in their lives, and it's probably because they saw like a child get mangled, and that's the effect of Lutheranism. I'm telling you, like Calvinism, you sort of go wild. Lutheranism, you are so deadened that nothing brings you joy.
I mean, that's a big form of flattery. Isn't that what Alex Jones is Bill Hicks? Wasn't that the whole thing for a long time?
I still almost believe that. Like, just I'm holding on just a little. I just want that to be true.
That would be kind of cool.
I heard Bill Hicks because I hadn't heard of him before I heard Alex Jones is Bill Hicks, so I knew Alex Jones before Bill Hicks. So, okay, let's see what this guy is like. He's just bloody terrible. He's like Carlin, like all of these people shouting, he's the government.
Just right.
Could you be funny, for example?
Alex is way
that
funnier
would
than
be
Bill.
extraordinary.
Yeah, if Carlin was alive, I'd love his Kamala Harris endorsement to fight the powers that
Oh
be.
yeah, yeah. People who like there are a few people who tapped out before they could become cringe. Carlin is definitely one of them, but he was also quite old. He didn't die younger like Christopher Hitchens. Although he might have a chance because he was willing to go like for the Iraq War, so he went for something he shouldn't have gone for, but he still was willing to be incredibly disagreeable. But they tapped out before they had a chance to become like the science says the science says the science.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like Jimi Hendrix. Like, he is good that he died young because he would have been playing terrible jazz music right now, like all old and like.
As opposed to what other type of jazz music?
Well, exactly.
I mean, I don't know. I'm still hoping a lot of these what do I want to say, atheistic, materialistic types are starting to come around a little bit. I don't know if it's just in my head. I think at this point we're, complimenting some guys here on the stream, at least from the outside looking in. Even guys like, what's his name? Cosmic Skeptic. Like, at least from like, he was over here, he's at least kind of here. You know what I mean? And I don't know. You got,
he's got to go one-on-one with Jay. That guy. He keeps bringing in people who can't really like undercut the columns that need to be undercut. They're just, dancing on the platform,
Right.
But maybe that would be, maybe Jay would just end the conversation too early, and then he'd be like, well, I don't know where we go from here then.
Peter Hitchens actually walked out on.
Yeah, he
Alex.
did. Yeah, he did.
I'm not
missed
doing
that.
this.
He's like, I'm done. I'm done.
Wait,
What made him walk
He
out?
pushed him on drug reform. Drug policing.
Peter is
weird.
massive
Weird
on
reaction.
not legalizing
I know, it was weird.
cannabis, and apparently they were supposed to have like an hour, and this portion of it devoted to like drugs, this on like prisons and stuff like that. And because Peter wanted to move on and Alex was still in the drug thing, Peter, well, I don't believe there's any point in me doing this.
He's a real curmudgeon, isn't he?
He is the essence of curmudgeony. Like, he has distilled it.
I shouldn't laugh. But I don't know. I'm just saying, like, even hasn't Dawkins, he's like, I'm a cultural Christian. Like, as cringy as it is, the conversation is at least starting to happen. And I don't think 5-10 years ago, guys like that would even entertain
I think
saying
people
something
like
that.
Dawkins, like they're being forced to choose
Think so?
sides. England 40 years ago, 20 years ago, yeah, it's edgy and cool to be against the Christians. Now you're less than 30% in London, good luck. And I don't think they like their odds. So now, I'm a cultural Christian.
Yeah.
But all the new atheists, like the Four Horsemen, they were always, it has to be said, they were always, if I had to choose Islam or Christianity, it's Christianity every time.
Right.
So they were against both, but they always preferred Christianity. And with the Dawkins, I do like the carols, and I
like the.
I'm not the only person who does a Dawkins impression, but I'm the only person here who tries to.
I think Jay's the winner. Dawkins.
One thing that is funny about that is that they always think we're going to clear out Christianity, then we'll have the atheist, free-thinking version of society. But what they end up getting is Islam.
Right.
You don't get no religion. You
They get their daughters raped on the street.
So true.
She gets pulled into a white van.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had to play my students the South Park Atheist Alliance.
Is this for college credit?
It was great. I don't even know how it came up. Well,
science be damned.
Well,
science
one thing that we can do fun in our class sometimes is we do philosophical analysis of Twitter. So I'm like, look at this. Look at this guy.
Is
how
that
would you?
Your students are drafting your replies?
Is good arguments, is bad. It's just fun to do, and of course, awesome. it was some atheist, and just making the worst sorts of arguments and stuff like that. So it just seemed fitting that. It's such a great episode, the Atheist Alliance, versus United Atheists.
Is Jimbob in your class and keeps arguing with obvious bots?
I'm the worst. I can't help it.
Like that Lilith account. That's the most.
Yeah. Pasha's like, Jimbob, that's a bot, and I'm like, I don't care. I need to win.
I think when I say it, it stays with him for like 3 tweets, and on the fourth one, wait, I'm not letting this pass.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of coming around to the atheists coming around to things, I've been looking at this, and I think, tell me what you guys think. I think that they're gonna start taking on an intelligent design position, just not God. What do you think? Like coming around to like. Whether it's some sort of like making the universe like a mind of sorts or some intelligence or some distant creatures that created everything. I think it's inevitable. I think 10 years. That's my timeline on that.
Well, actually, I was just writing about in my chapter 2 on transhumanism, the whole section on techno-paganism, and there's a group called the Order of Cosmic Engineers, and this is and a lot of academics are a part of this group, and they're coders and they're engineers, tech engineers, and they believe in one of their prospectus statement, they claim that the super intelligent mind that they're going to create, which is going to spread in consciousness and intelligence through the universe to make the universe sentient, is really just an awakening process of an infinite multiverse phenomenon of super intelligences creating big bangs. And that's part of their theology. So I'm writing about techno-paganism and how that is really part, because they claim this is a natural entity and that they reject supernatural entities. So they're not part of a religion. They don't believe in God, but at the same time, this natural entity fulfills every category that you would list as a god.
So remember, they already put that in Interstellar. Remember? No, I'm not joking. The last scene, right, was
that web of
that it was them that had
that was the Akashic records. Okay, those the Akashic records.
Kind of happens in Arrival as well.
What was it? Father Deacon, that was the scene where he's in the web of time and matter, and
and it's basically them, and it's not clear whether they were bringing in multiverse or anything like that, but it was basically this kind of what was inevitable, that we would evolve to this level, and it was them, right? Basically, they kind of transcended like space time was the kind of. And they were giving them the answer. It was them giving themselves the answers to. So, apotheosis.
Yeah, apotheosis. However you want to pronounce it.
There wasn't a God. They became God.
Right.
Through the technology, and what do? They transcend space and time, and
yeah, I love how that. Well, that's a fundamental contradiction in their worldview. Is they believe that Darwinian evolution is a random occurrence of mutation and evolution, yet there's a teleology that it's all leading towards superintelligence. And so, like, well, which one is it? Is there a telos here in creation?
Accidental superintelligence.
Well, and what's
telos? Yeah.
And what is happening in academia right now? Like, I mean, besides the whole.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, like just woke stuff.
I
like,
wish it was nothing.
Besides, like I have no idea. It's not like I took a little bit of Greek philosophy in college, and I like that class, but I don't know what like the professors like. What other dissertations? What are people actually?
It's all physicalism.
Yeah, really.
I mean, it just depends on what like area. So obviously, every department has gender studies. They bring all that stuff in.
Well, did you see
depending on what department you might have a lot of critical theorists and Adorno and stuff like that.
Right.
If it's not that, then it's just it's mathematical logic and hardcore analytic philosophy. So if you get away from the other stuff, you find yourself
in like a closet with another person, and you're the only ones actually doing things.
No, that really is academia. And in regards to philosophy, and FDA can correct me, but what I've noticed is a lot of the scholars that are actually doing interesting work are almost always have some type of religious commitment.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess that was kind of my question. It's like, if their agenda works, won't we be the only people producing anything 20, 30 years?
Well, I think that's what the internet. I mean, that's what Jay streams are, and live streaming, and what we're all doing online. I mean, the university's failing.
Academia will be just cringe cool.
The university doesn't like philosophy departments, so they're cutting philosophy and humanities department anyways.
Yeah.
While keeping gender studies alive. But yeah, it's all just STEM stuff. It's what brings in the money. You can quantify it. And so the philosophy departments may not be around much longer.
Well, what do you think about? What's your job security over there, Father Deacon? I mean, you feel like you'll be there for a while, or do you get any pushback from the university? Or
no, my boss is fantastic. He's, it's a small college, a small liberal arts college. My boss is a graduate alumni from Thomas Aquinas College. He's very, he's a Thomistic Aristotelian, and so. Yeah, I mean, we've got a couple people maybe in the department are a little bit more liberal or something like that, but they're, I have some colleagues who are really kind of traditional and conservative. And so they're very supportive. The whole college is very supportive of orthodoxy. The president, for example, is like, I want to make sure that you're wearing, because when I first came up here, I never wore a cassock teaching because I knew, I'm like, you don't do stuff like that. You'll get in trouble coming out of California. So when I first came up here, I wasn't wearing my cassock. And then the president was like, well, we really would love to we want you to teach in your cassock, and we want an Orthodox presence. So,
was it a diversity hire? Is this a
Yeah,
diversity
yeah,
hire?
affirmative action. Yeah, affirmative action. Wait, does that mean your students predominantly, or the students of the entire college are also predominantly under that sort of conservative view, or is it that the same in every place where they're actually also the students are liberal for the most part?
I'd say about 70% are Roman Catholic, at various degrees of being traditional versus nominal. There's some Protestants. Not a lot of woke students. You'll occasionally get one, but it was nothing like California. The upshot of like California, though, is if you teach at a community college, a lot of these are non-traditional students for the first time. They're not woke. They haven't actually gone through the kind of brainwashing system. So there's kind of some advantages at teaching at the community college level. You just don't get, they're not sassy. They really want to be there. They haven't totally been brainwashed. And, they're some of the first people in their family to actually be there. So, it wasn't all bad teaching in California, but when you get to the Cal State systems and stuff it's all, every.
So you didn't get called a bigot
to be part of the managerial class. They don't need the brainwashing. So you went to community college, you're never going to be like part of the higher bureaucracy. So they don't need to put you through the ringer. They can you can actually learn things.
BLA, you're a teacher too, right?
It's definitely there. Like I would get emails where it was just,
bigot,
Skittles emails,
bearded bigot.
Yeah. It's everywhere. But yeah, like obviously the college I'm teaching, there's a lot of liberal professors. It's just we're blessed that in our department, we have some good conservative ones, and one of them's the chair. And
until he retires,
the president's really conservative.
Boss.
What's that?
I said until he retires, and then you have some critical theorist, pink-haired boss.
I know.
I get, and that's kind of my question. Is like how much longer can that kind of woke movement hold out before they're just outbred? I mean, I guess they can keep doing the surrogate stuff and adopting babies and trying to, but that's kind of ultimately what I was saying is like, well, that agenda, Dawkins and his own idea of evolution, like you're gonna die with that idea compared to any other religious idea. You know what I mean?
Well, I kind of see it as that critical theorist bureaucracy is collapsing on itself, and then from the bottom they're just importing the third world. So if you're somewhere in between and you're not a ruling elite or trying to be part of these power structures, I mean, you got pressure coming from both sides.
By the way, critical race theory is banned in Montana. You can't teach it anywhere.
Great.
So that protects. Also, it's a diocesan college, so the Roman Catholic bishop of Helena is really traditional and conservative. And so he can oust anybody he wants. Now, what's the phrase I want to use? He tends not to fight the liberal professors unless they do something way out of line. I do know that there were some professors that tried to do like a drag parade or something like that, and the bishop stepped in and just was like, nope. So it's good to have him kind of fighting against the stuff, but he treads lightly and because we know, the woke crowd gets upset. What do? They go to the media, they cry, and then make a big fuss. And you're just trying to run your churches and your university. And it's just like, is this really, do we have to fight these people all the time? So I think they pick their battles on, if it's really a big deal, they'll step in. But I don't know. I think that's a blessing. I've never been in a college that has those kind of protections. And
the woke
and
crowd
like
won't be outbred because they cycle through. So the people that are students, I taught community college for about 10 years, and the people that go to community college, like Father Deacon said, are usually too concerned with feeding a family. They usually already have a family. They're already working a job or maybe 2 other jobs. They're not concerned with any of the political stuff. They want a job, and then they can make money and provide for a family. And then as they cycle up to having their kids go have a better experience and go to a true university, then they get indoctrinated in the thing, and then the cycle goes on. But yeah, there's no critical race theory or any of that stuff, especially in schools in this country where you don't have time for that sort of thing when the population of students that you teach has to worry about getting mugged or getting jumped on the way home or getting robbed. They just don't. Yeah. It's not a concern for them. The only problem is the main problem is when you teach for instance, in a city where there's a prominent university or a number of universities around. If there's just community colleges, you're actually better off socially than you are if there's a university.
Well, there's a point to be made about professors and in a lot of different fields as well, but that is akin to what has happened to journalism. It's you don't have in the professional journalistic class, you don't really have blue collar people anymore. They tend to be already moneyed, so you no longer have the working class concerns being covered, except for the pandering stuff. How basically they view the working class, or especially minorities, as like dogs or something. Aw, poor thing. It's all in the abstract. But when you get these type of upper middle class people, usually they're not going to experience the problems of immigration. The costs of where they live are prohibitive enough to keep them out until they're sent by bus by a Republican governor or something.
Daniel sends in $5 and says, "Isn't Christianity the Mormonism of Judaism? How do we know the legitimacy of either if they're both proof texting? What about epistemological continuity?" Never heard Christianity. The Mormonism of Judaism. What?
Mormonism is a sci-fi polytheistic space cult.
Right.
So I'm not.
We just had a video debate with a Mormon, and then a former Mormon came on after and pointed out that you can look up the Joseph Smith translation of Genesis, where he included at the end of Genesis about 11 verses about himself. So, I mean, that right there tells you. I mean, literally no existing text prior to Joseph Smith have any text at the end of Genesis predicting Joseph Smith. So that right there tells you that Mormonism is false. So why would there be any equivalence between Mormonism and Christianity? Christianity doesn't be anything close to Mormonism, and that's why we constantly argue that the Old Testament teaches the Trinity. So that right there destroys this bizarre argument.
Doesn't the question assume that there's some sort of transition happening as opposed to a continuation?
Yeah.
Like the book in Stephen DeYoung's book, he makes a very clear distinction. Like, people often look at it and they say, "Oh, there's a conversion happening," and it's actually not the case, right? Yeah, that's a great book. Yeah.
I think it's basically Mormonism has many gods, so it's an increase from 3, right? Which is Christianity, and
an evolving
God.
An
increase from 1.
Even the Father,
right,
that we would understand as the Trinity, was a man at one point who evolved into divinity in a universe that he didn't create yet.
With a body, yeah.
I think it's just he perceives it as a number increase.
I wonder if the guy asking the question, though, like if we could steelman him and swap Mormonism with something else to try to get what he's actually trying to say.
He's
here.
He's saying Christianity rejects Mormonism like Judaism rejects Christianity. Like we also reject Islam. We reject a lot of things. It's not about it happened later, therefore it's wrong. That's not how this works. It's not a chronological problem.
Plus, there are tons of reasons to reject any given theology.
A lot of
Second
Temple Judaism has been thrown out, like the two powers in heaven. Like you don't see the Jews talking about that anymore.
And there's tons of
Patrick, go back to the previous one. I'll go to a second point because this is an issue that comes up. So people want to know, well, how do you know which one's true if they're both proof texting in whatever religion? And I'm seeing more and more of this problem that, first of all, orthodoxy doesn't prove itself from one piece, the Bible. And I'm starting to know, we saw this in the Twitter X space when people try to work and make proofs from individual things. And this is why we give the Orthodox transcendental argument for the existence of God. It's the whole thing. So you can't just start with a piece, because then you'd have to have some sort of an objective rubric or proof by which you judge that. So you can't really do this. This is why it's a paradigm analysis.
He's saying his contention is, I just don't see how there is epistemological continuity.
Well, I mean, the whole argument
is what he's saying.
that the saints of the Old Testament have the exact same gospel and experience of God that we do. That's the whole premise of orthodoxy. There's no difference in the experience of God that Moses had than what Paul had or what Basil had. So
right. Well, and to your point, I've heard you make this multiple times. I have the Boyardin text that talks about the three powers in heaven. So if he's making a claim that Christianity is an innovation on a conception of God and is a epistemological divergent thread, then he's not familiar with. So yeah, the theology.
Also, what's the problem too? People take a modern or much later kind of principle and they read that all back into the text and history. So I think this individual is taking modern rabbinical Talmudic Judaism in strict monotheism and then reading that back into the Old Testament. And then what do? You create the dilemma. Well, there's no continuity. Well, the problem is your starting point that's developed much later that you're reading back into the text. And Protestants do the same thing, right? They take a 17th century hermeneutical and epistemic principle and then read it all back and say, well, I just don't see it. Well, it's like, well, the problem's not the text. The problem is the glasses that you put on.
Also, exactly. I have another question about that. Isn't it possible that
true one?
Isn't it possible that even epistemology, among other things, can be not developed from the bottom up, but like developed in higher resolution over time? And there's no contradiction. So couldn't you have a view that has lower resolution in the past and higher resolution in the future, but doesn't change?
Of course. I was talking with some of the theology professors here that obviously I don't agree with. But, they were saying, well, the Trinity was developed and blah, blah, blah. And like the language was, think about, as far as resolution, a child in orthodoxy doesn't understand the nuances of the creed.
Right.
But they know God, right?
So they shouldn't be baptized.
To that guy's question, though, he keeps repeating the question of, well, that's your Christian interpretation. Yeah, but that's true for any position.
Right.
Any position has an interpretation.
Right.
That doesn't make all the positions relative. It just
Do you know what interpretation is, the Greek word? Or it's just the belief. It's doxa. So everybody has a doxa.
Yeah.
So really, it's a category error. Well, the question is whether the doxa is true and justified. So
you mean is
it's a non sequitur, right? To say that because everyone has a belief, that therefore all beliefs are strictly relative to.
Yeah, logic was developed, right? They're the same. Father Deacon is pointing out, like our development of logic, mathematics, calculus, all this extreme geometry. We wouldn't say it's up in the air, the knowledge of it, just because it's been developed over time, right? That would be. It's sort of a genetic fallacy, maybe not exactly, but it's just saying like where it all comes from is up in the air. Therefore, like Jay said, all the views are equally up in the air. Well,
except my view of that view.
Right. Except for that view.
That's where I think the person's missing that they're doing the very thing that they're trying to
exactly
critique, right? Which is it's impossible to have a totally neutral, God's eye perspective where you don't have some vantage point.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
So if I can bring an example, when we read about Elijah and the whole, dual
non-interpretation.
No, he froze.
Montana froze him over.
So he's responding saying, how do you justify the interpretation that the Messiah is Christ when you currently justify your interpretation with the church, especially since the church was led astray at the time of Jesus?
Well, that's Messiah. Christ means Messiah.
Right.
Yeah,
But the fundamental crux, I think, is what Jay's saying, is that he's not recognizing that even his interpretation himself is still theory laden. And so there is no neutral standing point to make any claim about anything. It's a infinite regression to just talk about everything's an interpretation, which leads to relativism.
Yeah, the argument is not, by the way, that we simply appeal to the church to justify the belief that Jesus is the Messiah. The church is an aspect of the fulfillment of those prophecies, but the proof that Christ is the Messiah is the many, many, many prophecies that are very precise about him in the Old Testament, and many of those prophecies also include the institution of the church. So those things go together. So we don't have to divide the only way I know that Jesus is the Messiah is that because of the church. That's not a very good argument.
Not to mention that because of Daniel, people were expecting the Messiah at the time.
Right.
Because the timeline is laid out there.
Yeah, Jesus says, do you not know the hour has come? Do you not know the hour of the time, and so forth?
And the demons say to him, why have you come to bother us before the time?
Yeah. Also, this is a common Protestant misunderstanding. Another reason why you couldn't have a further sect that is a development of beyond Christianity, it's a Mormon misunderstanding that Father Deacon and I have addressed many times, is that there's multiple passages that speak of the finality of the divine revelation when the Messiah comes. You've got Zechariah 13 about there being no more new prophets in the Messianic period. You got Jude 3, Revelation 22, Hebrews 1, Galatians 1, all of which speak of the finality of Revelation in the time of the apostles. So there's not going to be a new sect. And by the way, even Rabbinic Judaism admits that there's some kind of death of a Messiah, which is why they have two Messiahs, Messiah ben David, Messiah ben Joseph. Most people don't know that Rabbinic Judaism has two different Messiahs because of trying to grapple with the death and the resurrection passages in the Old Testament. So there is no Rabbinic Judaism that's this consistent ancient Unitarian position. That's false.
And there wasn't a unified Judaism.
Yeah.
You've got the Pharisees and the Sadducees.
Text.
Right. Well, the Sadducees rejected everything except the Pentateuch. They didn't have.
The reason you can't compare the Church of Christ's day by it being misled, saying, "Oh, well, the Pharisees were misled. That was the Church of Christ's day." There's a big difference between the situation and role of Israel and the church. The Old Testament Israel did not have Pentecost. Pentecost is a new thing in the world. It's a new thing in history. It's a very important aspect of redemptive history. And so when Jesus says, I will send the Spirit, I will lead you and guide you in all truth, I will not abandon you as orphans, the Spirit will lead you and guide you, the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. All of that is in reference to Pentecost. That's why you can't always make these analogies to, well, Israel went apostate. Israel was the church at the time. Why can the church go apostate? It's a Protestant argument.
Right. Yeah, you can, and it seems like he's just really stuck in that sola scriptura mindset. And, when you're sitting there, you're just going to keep going back, dude, in church history and find something that contradicts yourself. At least that was me, right? I'm like, well, Athanasius said this. Let me go and look at this guy. Look at this guy. At some point, you have to be like, okay, how am I going to decide what you have to have faith? And for me, I finally got into orthodoxy. I'm like, I'm going to have faith that the guys in the year 300 knew more than what I know now, and that Christ said the church has the true doctrine. Otherwise, I'm just going to try and keep looking for information, right? Gnosticism. Oh, well, the Dead Sea Scrolls say this, and that contradicts the Orthodox Church. You can constantly find that. And I think the butter on the bread is that eventually just saying, hey, Christ said I have the church gates of hell will not prevail against it. And it's like, what church is that? I mean, past that, you're not going to get anywhere. Just trying. What's that?
Pastor Bob's ancient Church of Christ,
Yeah,
founded in 19.
But I'm
Randy,
saying,
Randy Balls.
yeah, and I mean, I'm
Randolph
saying, I
Balls.
remember
Randy
being in
Balls.
there where you're like, how do I, sort through all this information? And you can find, I remember like the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm like, wow, well, these guys said this then, and you get into Gnosticism, and you get in the Essenes. And it's like, oh, these people said this at the same time, and this Roman guy said this, and it's like, that's just a very like post-Enlightenment thinking. And again, I'm not trying to rail on you.
Pastor
man,
Randolph Balls told me that the gravedigger is Elijah's chariot.
Randolph. I didn't know his proper full name.
Randolph.
Now I'm interested. Randolph. Yeah.
It's Soul Crusher.
Hey, you guys, I'm gonna head out. Thank you guys. Happy birthday, many years to you, Dave Patrick. And congrats on the growth. And everybody, much love to all you guys in the chat and on the stream.
You too, brother. God bless you.
guys
Good
next
work,
time.
Jimbob.
Okay? All right. See you, man.
And we can wrap up the stream. I told you guys we were going to go for 2 hours, so I know everybody on the panel's busy and they got other things to do. Just to cover a few super chats in case there's any questions for anybody on the panel. We'll just check. Jason Scholl throws in $5, says, God bless you, DPH, and the panel, and happy birthday. Thank you, Jason. Teacup, dear Ortho brother, DPH, small biscuit from me, bro. Thank you, Teacup. Really appreciate that. Zach Flayton, happy birthday, bro. Been following you since the beginning, almost 5 years. Your channel keeps getting better and better. Keep up the excellent work. Thank you very much, Zach. Bon Jovi throws in $50 and just says, blessings, man. Well, thank you very much, Bon Jovi. 1912. And then Christ CB says, happy birthday, DPH. Glory be to Jesus Christ. And over on Streamlabs, Thomas Henderson throws in 35 and says 35 greenbacks for every year. Patrick, God bless you, my friend. Looking forward to chatting with you and the others at the Think Tank meeting this Wednesday. God bless you, Thomas, and the family. Looking forward to it. JFW says, happy birthday, DPH. I'm glad to see everyone on the stream today. If I hadn't found your channels last year, I think that's referring to everybody on the panel. I may not have found the Orthodox Church. I became a catechumen just this week. Thank you to all of you, and God bless. And I think the last one, we got one more. 36 from Shimrock just says, happy birthday. Thank you very much, brother, for that generous super chat. And Anonymous throws in 25 and says, I rarely make your live streams and I rarely comment. Thank you. I have teenage sons and you help me immensely understand the young men. And congratulations on your marriage, Casa Piatra. Well, thank you very much, the anonymous donator. Really, I think that's all of them. Let's just double check. Genghis Kessler says, happy birthday. Thank you, brother. Oh, Kristen said, I think for BLA, she's looking for a Beetlejuice 2 analysis. We'll have to do that. Is that already out?
I haven't seen it yet. It's out, and we did Beetlejuice. We did Beetlejuice about a year ago. Yeah,
I'm sure there's going to be some woke elements in the new one. Jay, have you seen the new one?
I have not. No.
And
there's not much out. There's not much out right now. So
no, there's not. No. That's why all our movie reviews are like 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
Mela, thanks for the gifting of this membership that you yourself got. And then Rough Hands and Journey of Abundance says happy birthday. So that's really everything. And I told you guys we're going to do 5 to 7. So I appreciate all you guys. Appreciate all your guys' friendships. Thanks again for all the support. And God bless everything you guys do. If there's anything you want to say or promote or anything you want to shill,
feel free. I might have you guys on the 150 stream. So
that's going to be right around the corner.
Be maybe next month or two. Yeah, I'll have you guys on if you want.
Sweet. I'll be there.
Okay.
All right. Guys, do you have anything you want to say before?
God grant you many years, DPH.
Thank you, Dr. Mo.
Good one, man. Hope it's the best year of your life, buddy.
Well, I appreciate that. So I will see you guys later this week. Not sure when the next stream will be, potentially Tuesday or Thursday. So I'll see you when I see you. As always, until next time, God bless.
See ya.
God bless.